You were just walking away from an opportunity to move on to newer pastures, and you were like, actually, let me leave that door open for you and make some introductions. So it is very much in the core of who you are and always has been. And it doesn't
hurt me to do that. You know, it really doesn't. It's there's nothing tied to it. There's never like.
Welcome to Finding My User Manual, a podcast about how to be human when no one gave you the instructions. My name is Tigz Rice. I'm an empowerment photographer based in London, UK. And today I am joined by one of my absolute favourite people, Tony Harmer. Hi.
Hello.
Also, I'm so glad you're on today because you tried to call me yesterday and I was like, I'm going into a meeting. I'll see you tomorrow. So we are long overdue a catch up for sure. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How about you?
I am fabulous, even more fabulous now that you're here.
Oh.
Let me give you a full ego-boosting intro for anyone who has not heard of you before. So Tony Harmer is an artist, educator and creative guide whose career spans both the physical and digital worlds of 2D and 3D media, with the occasional sidestep into voice acting and or doing something for the plot for good measure. He's perhaps best known for his 22-year association with Adobe, racking up a whopping 14 Adobe Max speaker appearances, which is very impressive, or as an instructor on lynda.com and LinkedIn Learning, where more than 2.5 million learners have benefited from his teaching. He's also written for publications including Computer Arts and Digital Camera Magazine. But that's only part of the story. Tony is currently rebalancing his working life towards more experiential, therapeutic, and human-centered creative sessions, both in person and online. His new adventure, the Department of Messy Ideas, which I see you're sporting the logo
I'm sporting
of
a
today,
Messy Ideas sweater, yeah.
offers therapeutic art coaching alongside traditional and digital media, learning through workshops and events. A member of the Nottingham Society of Artists and an organiser for The Big Draw, his commitment to creativity as something accessible, communal and deeply personal never fails to inspire. Thank
That
you
was lovely.
so much for
Can we
being
leave
here.
it at that? It's really good.
Yeah, that's it. We'll just we'll just walk away from that now.
It's so much better than the one I had yesterday, which is Tony Harmer is difficult to describe.
Do you know what? So for anyone who is listening, if you're watching on YouTube, I send everyone a form to fill in about what we're going to talk about because every speaker gets to pick the topic. And I've actually taken a few snippets out of what you put in that form because it is hilarious. So we'll get to those in a minute. But the most important question to start everything off, if you came with a user manual, what would it say in page 1?
Don't feed after midnight, probably.
I mean, do you know what? I might read out the first part.
You can read out the one I gave you because.
So there were two parts of this. You can get onto the second part, but the first part, and I'm reading this quote for quote. The default settings for this unit are anarchic, mischievous and unpredictable. The settings may be overridden, but will often revert to the default, especially if the unit is used outside of operating instructions. Hand wash only, do not tumble dry or iron. Fuel for the unit must not contain meat derivatives or alcohol. The unit may from time to time produce gaseous emissions which, while not harmful, may be unpleasant. Use in a well-ventilated area. Store horizontally, keep hydrated, and between 5 to 35 degrees Celsius may contain nuts.
That's it, and I can't see anybody who knows me having any argument with any of that.
I mean, no, it's not. It's not wrong, is it? And I think this really just sums up how you lean into life, like not taking anything too seriously. And like, tell me about this journey that you've been on. Like, what's been going on for you recently?
More recently, so as usual for me. Every sort of 10, 11 years or so, I have a major drama in my life, which I had one a couple of years ago, which you know about, but we're not going to talk about that. But it's and I've had that most of my life, and I had a difficult time as a kid because my dad. We won't drill down into that, but there were it was hard, and humour. Like a lot of people who've if they're lucky, as I've been, who've suffered some, humour and creativity are the things that have pulled me through it. So that's kind of it. But more recently, like within the last year or so, I'm making a whole other change in direction. So I actually started out in the days before computers as an artist, and then thought, because art is a game, right? Selling art is a game, and it's a rich people's game, essentially. Every now and then you get an outlier, but it's a rich people's game. And I thought, I don't want to be poorer than I was at the time. So I switched to graphics, and went on from there. And I've gone back to doing what I did. I started deliberately steering myself back to that about 2 years ago, and almost exactly 2 years ago, thinking about it, because it's only just February now, so it'd be like about a week ago, 2 years ago. And and that's where I'm going. And then as a result of some of that stuff, I've been helping some people out. And then, but another thing about my life is I've always wanted to help people.
Yeah.
You know, most of the people that know me know that if it's within my power to help them to do something, I will do that.
Yeah.
I will do, if I can do it, I'll do it to help them, because that's how we get along in life, right? It's by helping each other. And it's easy to forget that, especially in the world today.
It's so in your core as well. I mean, I know I've spoken about this previously, but you were so intrinsic at the beginning of my career, because we met at a design conference.
We did.
Back in the day, and actually you were just walking away from an opportunity to move on to newer pastures, and you were like, actually, let me leave that door open for you and make some introductions. So it is very much in the core of who you are, and always has been. And it doesn't
hurt me to do that. You know, it really doesn't. It's there's nothing tied to it. There's never like, oh, I'll help you out, but at some point in the future I'll phone you and say, oh,
you won't be a favourite.
I never do that. I'm the same with like things where I give to charity. I never talk about when I give stuff to charity generally, right? Because that's not why I'm doing it. It's not some sort of relations exercise for me. It's a thing. It's just, you know, I've been helped at one particular point in my life. If I hadn't been helped by those two people, Pete and Wendy, I wouldn't be here now. Yeah. They literally saved my life. And at the time, I was a troubled, homeless teen that had come from a difficult background, and they pulled me out of that. The version that you see in front of you, that's all developed from there, and that's kind of why it made me like that. Not that I was a bad person before, but you know, I just didn't have the capacity to help anyone. So that's where it is, and that really. And it was a few months ago when I learnt this, when helping out someone, strange enough, after the last election in the US. And we used to work together in California, and we have a call sort of every 3 weeks. And so I look forward to it. Got one Thursday actually this week. But anyway, this was the first call after the election. And she didn't even get to say hi. She just started crying. She started crying, wondering. She's got a lovely little girl, June, and who at the time was 4, or rising 4 anyway, and she doesn't know what's going to happen to her, whether she'll have control over certain aspects of her life, in the future. And to be honest, she was extrapolating a long way, but with some of the things in the world the way they are at the moment, probably wise for her to do that. But anyway, she just cried for about 40 minutes, right? And in a call before that, she had said to me about June being obsessed with fairy houses at the time, right? She was like 3 to 4, and she's like, everything was fairies and rainbows and unicorns. It still is, by the
Amazing.
way. But she, I thought, what can I do to kind of rebalance this particular conversation, this conversation, it wasn't like it was a meeting, it's friends talking. But but what can I do? And this was over like a conferencing app, right? And I just said, do you know what? I'm going to draw. I'm going to draw something for June. I'm going to draw June a fairy house. I said, and so I shared my screen, and I put some painting software that I use up on the screen. Nice big canvas, and the great thing about it is the natural media emulation is phenomenal. And I just started sketching as I normally would with like a pencil in there, and then started developing that. And she said to me, she said, oh my God, she goes, in just a few moments, she goes, I feel so calm.
Yep.
So calm in doing that. And I've done that for her on a few occasions. And I've done it for a couple of other people. One just a few weeks ago, but I thought, I think this is what I do, especially in a world where the word artificial sits in so many different corners of our life right now, and especially in our industry. Yeah, we have this thing, and I think there's a need for it. I think people actually have a need to be human again, and to have those human experiences, which now I know we were using a video conferencing app, delivering it, and I'd still deliver stuff like that via that kind of app, but it's not technology centric.
It's connection
That's
centric.
just the medium.
Yeah.
In exactly the same it will be with a can and 2 pieces of string, pretty much, or a telephone or whatever else. Why did I say a can and 2 pieces of string?
I love that analogy. The fact that you still have to be in the room, but we're talking.
You just wear the can as a hat and then just flick the string around in some sort of weird semaphore. And you post them a thing with the code on it. This is A. That's anyway. 2 cans and a piece of string.
Absolutely.
Just to correct myself.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's where we're at. That's kind of where we're at. And that was a very long-winded answer to your question, but it's my gig.
It's perfect. But so communication and connection has always been important to you, as has your creativity. How have you balanced being, I'm going to say in real life creative rather than digital creative, because I don't want to say specifically a form of creativity, but how have you balanced out, because your career has been, very primarily focused in the digital space and digital learning, and as we spoke about, like the work you've done with Adobe and Lynda and LinkedIn Learning, so much of that has been more sort of digital media. How have you made space in your life for that creativity?
For my own creativity,
or specifically like physical, tangible.
It is a mixture of the two. Whenever I had the opportunity to do something physical. So when I went on holiday, and I still do this, when I go on holiday, in fact, somebody I was with actually photographed my pencil roll and a couple of small tins of coloured pencils and a set of pan, watercolours, and whatever, photographed all of that on the bottom of the bed where I was getting out. So I would do that, and I would draw Christmas and like the holidays. I would carve out time to draw that. But if I couldn't do that, then I would create stuff for myself digitally. But also, I sculpt and do. But so there's always something I can be doing. Yeah. So I'm terrible at building armatures, though, as I found out the other week. Really, really bad at building armatures. The only successful one I've done was for a pumpkin. Can't really go wrong with that.
I mean, you can't be good at everything. Leave something for the rest of us. I think you and I spend quite a lot of time on the phone, just catching up in life anyway. Yeah. And I remember the first time I kind of really became aware of it was, I can't even remember what we were chatting about. And you went, oh, don't mind me, I'm just painting this giant easel. I'm trying to decide which colour I want to use. And I went, oh, what are you painting? And then I realised that whenever we've had conversations, you've literally been...
I'm still doing stuff.
Painting. Yeah. And so I guess, it's built really into who you are in every sense of your being.
Yeah. At any one point. So at the moment, I was speaking to somebody yesterday, and they were asking what I was up to, And I said, well, if you're really genuinely interested, I'm doing another. So I keep a creative journal. Right. I've actually brought one with me because I'll write about this on the way home, or draw about it, which is more often than not what I do. So sometimes, if I've drawn something in there and I decide I want to paint it, I might lay down some underpainting, and then on the following morning, instead of scrolling, I will go in, have my coffee while I start, developing that a bit more, right? And so sometimes they bleed over into the next day, so it's sort of a little bit more completion on that. Although at the moment also, I'm trying to do things where I paint something completely in an hour, which is intense, right? Especially when it's wet media. So when my girlfriend's on the phone, when my fiance's on the phone to me, which I quite often say, right, I won't be able to hear you for a moment because the hairdryer's going on, because I've got a hairdryer hanging on a hook next to one of the boards, and that comes up for a few minutes while I'm doing. That was my hairdryer impression. Thank you very much.
Love that. 10 out of 10. Absolutely knew what that was.
That's why I get the middle money. But anyway, so back to this call, and I said, right, okay, well, I'm doing something in my journal. I said, but I've got 4 paintings on the go at the moment, which is the maximum I can get in the room at home, and I've got a perfectly good studio in the city centre. Yeah, but at the moment that's full of cardboard from something else I'm doing in there. So because I sculpt in cardboard. Yeah. And this is a thing for later on in the year that I'm doing at the moment. So it's a bigger, longer project down there, and I go down there occasionally if I need to cut big stuff and whatever else, because there's big space to do that. But in the room, so I've got a 4-bedroom house that I've got one room which is all of those bedrooms, 3 of the bedrooms, all of them have components of my library in them. So my library's kind of legendary. The biggest part of the library is downstairs in the creative room. That's where I paint in there. And for the only reason it's got a hard floor, so I can mop it up really quickly should I need to do so.
So important with paint.
Does happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Paint and carpets, they're not the one.
No, not natural bedfellows, to be perfectly honest. They're really not. But well, it depends how you look at it, really. But but for the landlord who owns the house in which I live, he's probably not into it. Not into it. Anyway, so there's that. Upstairs, there's a room where I cut vinyl, like this stuff here, right, and do other cutting operations in there, and occasionally go in there to iron my clothes. I do that as well. As an ironing board in there. Then there's another room that's set for recording, so that's got part of the library in it, but that's where I do lives and when I record learning content in there. Yep. And then the other one is a photography room, so that's basically where the lenses are all stored. All of my lights are in there, all my backdrops are in there. And then there's a couple of things set up for me to photograph small objects if I need to photograph them in there. So I can just pop like a couple of lanterns up in there or whatever, or just put things together and do that. And there's also tons of models in there, right, for things for scratch building, and so there's bits of those in there. And downstairs in the creative room, there's a plan chest. There's the big chunk of the libraries in there, big easel, massive drawing board, and so the paintings move on and off the easel as they need. And I have got to go down to the studio tomorrow because I need to put some modelling paste on a canvas, and I can't do that in the house because that stuff sticks like crazy. And it dries really quickly. Yeah.
It's been such a long time since I've worked in sort of that kind of medium.
Oh God, I love that.
There's something about messy art, though, isn't there? It's just so good for the soul. Do you find that it sounds like you've got quite a lot of projects on at the go. So, like, what brings you to each piece? Is it I'm in the mood to do this, or like when inspiration strikes, or are you someone that needs to have multiple creative outlets at the same time, and this helps you? Yeah, I'm like a bee. Yeah. Define. I'm like a bee. Okay. Right. But I don't sting anybody. I'm like a cool bee. I'm like a bee that goes like, I'm just going to lie here. No, it's fine. Don't worry. Honest. Okay, have some honey. I'm that sort of bee. But no, that's how
that's how I land on these different things. I mean, if I've got something like, you know, a deadline, people give me deadlines for some things, and if I've got that, then of course that takes priority. But in my own stuff, in doing what I want to do, I float between the things, and sometimes that is a handy way to work, because if I'm working on something that is wet media and I can't dry it quickly, then I can just park that and go off to the other thing and do that. And then of course I go out with some groups, and I go live drawing as well. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff, and then theoretically set up a store where I can sell this stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been 4 months, still not set up.
I believe in you.
There's 2 paintings and a
year.
T-shirt on there. I've got 38 paintings to get photographed. I don't do those. My friend Dom does those, because he's set up for doing that.
Yeah, so it's quite a task photographing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But he's actually got everything like a documents thing set up for that on like a big AO board. Yeah, it's fab. And he's great. Dominic Pope, fantastic photographer. Very artsy, really, really cool. And but he does those for me. So I'll just take a bunch down there and just say, can you do these? And just he tells me how much he wants, so I give him the money. He photographs, and then later on that day he sends me the photographs for me to work on.
So you're saying there's 4 things in the shop, but actually there's 38 canvases.
They're upstairs though.
Yeah.
They're in the room where the cutting goes on, because there's room underneath that table for all that. So there's 38 monoprints in there, which are sort of a hybrid between you've done monoprinting, so a hybrid between that and painting. Some of them I paint on, some of them I don't. Then there's there are a stack of canvases in there as well. They're also, thinking about it, there's a bunch of canvases in the creative room as well that need to move.
That's incredible.
And,
so
such a trip hazard.
Oh my gosh, I bet. You obviously, you live and breathe creativity.
Yeah.
How do you know, I think for a lot of creatives, our jobs can be so demanding of us that sometimes staying creative in our personal lives and doing art for play rather than for money can be quite a hard distinction for some.
Yeah.
How do you make sure that you're pouring into your own cup while still being creative on other people's projects and briefs and deadlines?
I think from my own point of view, because I've lived my life like that, because it has saved me, so I don't really have to think about that. Yeah. For all of us, I think that working in the creative industry, whether it's as a writer, a musician, a photographer, an illustrator, a designer, the chances are we didn't just look at a list of things we could do with our life. We probably, as very young people, decided, hey, I like this, making stuff, you know, and in some way. I left sculptures out. I feel real bad now, especially seeing as one of my friends, Duncan, just won the John Ruskin Prize last week.
Wow, congrats.
So fantastic. He's amazing, Duncan Cameron. So I don't have to think about it too much. So it's part of me. But for other people, you've come into that because you wanted to do it, but then you end up doing it for money, which is different because, you know, there's other criteria attached to it. And so you're in this kind of, I think it's really bad to call it sort of a purgatory, really, but in some ways, I think it is, because you're doing something you love, even when you don't really love doing what you're doing, if you get what I mean. It's I've worked on, you know, I've earned my place in things like, I can remember many projects I've worked on where I thought, I really do not want to do this. I would rather cut off my own head with a spoon than do this, but you have to, because you've got bills to pay and whatever else.
I think it's also finding the right creativity that brings you joy.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually never set out to be creative, artistic. I wanted to be a forensic scientist and failed psychology, and then went, I'll just go to art school while I decide what to do, and here I am, many years later.
Yeah, but I mean, you set out in illustration before
I did,
photography, so...
And what I learnt through doing that illustration degree was that I didn't want to illustrate for money. I needed to do it for love. And so it just wasn't the career. So, actually it turns out that photography I love doing for money, and it makes me very, very happy, and it still hits that. But it's actually only more recently, and potentially even through our conversations, that I've actually started picking up traditional media again. And actually, I'm not going to say I've done huge amounts, but it's definitely sort of creeping back in there. But it's one of those ones that I have very much realised my drawing and my illustration work has to be done for self-fulfillment, not for financial fulfillment. So, and I think a lot of creatives probably feel that way as well. There's that one medium potentially that we keep that's purely for ourselves, that we don't financially gain from. I don't know.
But it should never be about that. The stuff for yourself should never be about that, and should never be about. So the thing is, when you're doing it industrially, which isn't particularly the right word for it, but unfortunately that is the word that's attached to it, right? But whenever you're working like that industrially, there is, you've got art directors, creative directors who are striving for some form of perfection. Perfection is where the monsters of insanity live, in plain sight, really. But you spend your industrial art life trying to achieve this thing, and you get really hung up on things that I guess, some things are really important. I think making type that is legible, if you want people to read it, and it's something that needs to be read, then probably a good idea to make it legible. Right, and I'm not dissing David Carson here, by the way. I know David, so I'm not dissing David Carson, but I say I know David. We've met on a few occasions, and we've had the odd chat, and I showed him some stuff, some of the Adobe stuff. But that stuff is, Ray gun was fine and fun, and it was edgy and all of that stuff. But I think generally, if you're making text that needs to be read, it needs to have attention paid to it. We see amusing stuff with dodgy kerning all the time.
Everywhere.
That means, I know, even in places where it really, really shouldn't ever be. Yeah. But that's you can enjoy yourself looking for things.
Oh, do you know, honestly, and so last night I went to see Iron Lung, the new Markiplier film. Yeah. By the way, for an independent. Excellent. I hate horror thriller movies. It was an absolutely fantastic one. I was on edge the entire time. But there's some text in it at one point. I think it might even be in the credits. And it's all, like the sort of like the digit sort of like clock, analog clock. And because there are certain letters that don't have the that you can't do an M, for example, on an 8.
No diagonals.
And but also limited eyes, when they were doing the credits, the eyes, they said it was great how they did it, because it flickered between the middle and actually where it should have been on the analog 8. But you're right, it's so important, and I'm literally sitting there going, every time it flickers, my eyes okay, it's going back, it's fine. So type is so important.
But so I mean, those things are important, because they have a real function that's whatever. But whether or not a logo is 1 pixel too far to the left or too far to the right, and it's on the side of a bus, really, And I used to play this game with clients, a thing where they go, "Oh, can you move it up a bit?" And you just nudge it up 5 pixels arbitrarily, right? And they go, "Oh no, I'm really not sure." So you'd move it to the right 5 pixels and, "Oh no, I think it needs to come down a bit." And you deliberately take it down 5 pixels, right? And then you go, "Oh no, mate, it's too close to the edge now." And 5 pixels, that's about right, perfect. And I'm thinking, it is exactly where it was just 5 minutes ago. But that's why I bill in 15-minute segments, because I'm thinking, you're paying for that, I'm not. And that helps me to smile also.
Chaotic good is what we're aiming
Chaotic
for
good
here.
is exactly that. Yeah.
So you're leaning in more into messy ideas, isn't it?
Messy ideas.
So tell me about. I mean, obviously, I feel like it stemmed from this phone call and with the friend in America. Why do you think it's so important that we lean in? Like, what is missing from the world?
Reality.
The messy ideas is bringing in.
Reality is what's missing from the world. A sense of your own self, just being you. You might think you're being your own self while you're sat on the edge of your sofa, scrolling through cat reels and whatever else. Not there's anything wrong with cat reels per se, right? But if you're just sat there doing that, you are not being yourself. You're not aware of your breathing, right? You're not aware of the space around you. You're not aware of how you actually feel.
Yeah.
Right, and those are the things. So there's therapy things, like the 20-minute therapy things that I'm doing, and indeed longer ones, they actually start out with that. I think that's the most important thing, is to find out where you are initially in that particular moment. And that's actually where the calm creeps in. It makes the rest of what I do easier to do. Because if you get people just to like breathe in 2, 3, 4 and hold 2, 3, 4 and out 2, 3,
You've
4.
lost me already.
But you can't help but calm down. But that's automatic. Your body regulates to that, right? And it will calm you down. So you do that a couple of times. That starts the process off. And then you find a suitable exercise, which may in some cases, depending on what's going on, right? If it's just someone who needs to calm down, that's pretty straightforward. Breathing is good, and then there are a bunch of different exercises you can do. If it's someone who I'm working with in conjunction with a therapist, the therapist will give me guidelines on what they do, because I can't do anything in terms of therapy as such. Therapeutic and therapy are different things, right? So, but I do speak the same language as the therapist that I'm working with a couple right now. Incredible. And hopefully more in other places soon. But they can tell me what needs to be done. If it's someone, and there are some things that I don't feel I can go near just yet. Yeah. But I want to work towards doing that. I'm going to continue developing towards doing that. But for now, it's for people who if they need 20 minutes of calm, anyone can afford 20 minutes. Right? You can afford that time if you really want to centre yourself, and get a sense of calm. So another friend, this time in Swindon, that I speak to every now and then. I trained them initially about 20 years ago, something crazy like that, and we became friends. She was with me for a week, and we became friends, and so we stayed in touch, and we met up a few times over the time. But generally, we have a phone. She'll call me or I'll call her. Anyway, one day I rang to see how her Christmas break and everything had been. Wish her Happy New Year and whatever else. And she just started crying. I don't generally have that effect on people, by the way, when I ring them up. Just so you know, the first thing, hi, it's Tony. That isn't how it rolls.
Yeah, for anyone listening, I can vouch. I don't think that's ever happened when I've called
anyway,
you.
she was quite distressed.
Yeah.
And I said to her, look, do you want to work through something with me just for a minute, just to do a little drawing exercise with me? Can you get yourself a piece of paper and something to have you got anything like that nearby? Now, she's creative, right? She has got stuff like that. And she goes, yeah. I said, right, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to FaceTime. You do not have to turn your camera on, but I need to turn mine on so you can see what I'm doing. But she elected to turn the camera on, and it's heartbreaking when you see someone who is like that. So we did a minute or so just breathing just for a second or so. Just need to kind of calm down just for a moment, and here's how we're going to do that. And so did that, and then I did an exercise with her, which actually I'm sticking this on YouTube next week, so it should, I don't know when this goes out, so you should be able to see it. And it's taking a pebble for a walk, right?
Okay.
Right, because I want this to be as accessible as possible, as broadly across the planet as possible, right? So I can't say, theoretically, you could do this exercise with a pebble and a stick on sand.
Okay.
You could do exactly the same thing, right? And you can elaborate it as much as you want to afterwards if you want to, but the basic exercise you could do with that, and that's why I'm using a pebble. Because originally, I mean, I do it with a coin as well, but not everybody has got a coin.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They haven't, but they can probably find a small pebble. And it's basically taking a pebble for a walk, right? So whatever you're going to make marks with, I'm going to try and do it this way around for you. So this is the paper. You're the paper. Hi, paper. Right. So you get your implement that you're going to draw with next to the pebble, and then just gently push the pebble, and the pebble will go wherever the pebble wants to go.
Yeah.
Right, and it will at some point go off the edge of the paper, and then you just place the pebble wherever you want the pebble to be, and then you take it for a walk, and you just do this for just a minute or so, and you end up with these lines that go all over the place.
Yeah.
So then you go over the lines again, and if you want to make them a bit thicker in places, or if you want them so there's like lines that are in parallel, you do that. And then you've got all of these gaps to colour in, so you can like colour these gaps in. And then you look for any intersections at all, and you make them non-violent, right? By rounding them off.
Okay.
So if you've got an intersection like that, you round it so that it kind of, makes, in vector terms, a tangency, but you just round that, which takes away all of the harm, that you're experiencing at that time,
Oh, interesting.
and the hurt. It can't hurt you because you're rounding the corner off, just like the scissors that I'm allowed to use, right? They're round on the ends.
You are allowed to use them.
I am allowed
Okay.
I'm allowed to use those ones
graduated to
on
scissors.
my own. I know. It was it was a real step forward. But anyway, just by doing that, and the thing is, as you're looking for the corners, your breathing is regulating, and if you're just being talked through it gently, when someone says, I don't want to talk, then don't talk. They know what the task is to do. And just try it for yourself.
I'm 100% in with you. See, I mean,
It really, really works.
When we were doing the box breathing just now, my mind, maybe this is the neurodivergence, but my mind is off. Like, give me a box breathing exercise and I can't do it.
Yeah, that's it. And you need those moments more than people who aren't neurodivergent. The neurotypical people, they still need it, but they don't need it as much as you do.
But in the same sense, so interestingly, actually, my husband says to me, he knows when my head is in a happy place, because I doodle in the side notes of things. So if he sees a piece of paper, and you know those wind, like when you see on like the weather forecasts, and it's got all the arrows showing the direction of the wind.
Yeah.
That is what my brain does when it's off and just calm and peaceful. And he's like, if I see that on the margin, or like on a random envelope in the living room, or like by your desk, I know you've had a good day. And it's something mindful, but not pushing my brain at the same time. So I love this idea of pushing the pebble around, taking it for a walk.
And honestly, it's such a simple thing to do. But if you stick with it just for a few minutes. So really, just to tail off that particular story of my friend, she calmed right down. Then she was asking me about keeping her creativity had gone into a corner, right? And I think that's the best way to describe it. And she'd lost herself in it. She'd lost the joy in it. And so she was asking me about that. So my journal was always on the drawing board. So unless it's in my bag, right? But my journal was always on the drawing board. And so I took the journal and I showed her a few pages from in there. And I said, it doesn't need to be complicated, and you're making this for yourself. It's not a portfolio, it's how you're feeling on that particular day. And I think on that day was the day I'd done a sort of an abstract background, and then needed the page to tell me what else it wanted to be on it.
Yes.
Right. So I slept on it, and in the morning the page said to me, what I really need is a darkened sunglasses.
Of course it did.
So I painted the darkened sunglasses on the page on top of it, and I'd just finished that, so I showed that to her and a couple of other things. And then and these whimsical birds that I make, right, they're like a small default for me. I'll make these whimsical birds. I'll just drip gouache or watercolour onto a page, or sometimes a mixture of two, or even more. Sometimes bits of markers, then occasionally some colour, just throw that in. Yeah. So
Messy play.
Whatever the page is asking me to deliver forth. Yeah. If I've got no particular thing, if I don't want to write a diary entry as such, sometimes I write those around the edges, things like that. There's one where it's got a load of lines all over the thing, moaning about how cold it was in there on that particular day, and I was trying to draw some thin lines with a rigger brush, like long hair brush, and and I was struggling to do it because it was so cold that my hand was like, oh no, I can't. I need blood to be going to other places than your fingers right now. So I turned the heater on effectively, which solved it. But I showed her that. She messaged me that night when her husband had come home from work, because she works at home. When her husband had come home from work, she won't drive when she's feeling fragile, which is so switched on to do that. If more people did that, But she messaged me and she said when he came home, she got him to drive her down to Hobbycraft. She bought herself a sketchbook to use as a journal. She bought herself some watercolours. She bought a bunch of pens, came back, and for the next 3 nights, she was sending me photos of the pages that she was doing. Aww. She loves little robins, and she'd drawn this whole family and then characters of robins and whatever. And I spoke to her yesterday, actually, and she hasn't stopped.
Amazing.
She hasn't. She's not just drawing those; she's drawing other things now as well. But she hasn't stopped. She's still doing that. And she said to me yesterday, "I want to thank you for doing it." I said, "But I haven't done it. I just showed you what you could get out of yourself. You've done. She has done all the work.
Yeah.
In that, not me. I didn't do that for her. Yeah." All I did was say you could do this, and it's worked. This is like weeks that it's going on now. So
for anyone out there who has been listening to this, going, "Oh my gosh, I need a bit of this in my life." How you said you were offering 20-minute sessions? Is that
I am, yeah.
So how's this working, and how? Can
right. So the best thing to do right now, and indeed for quite a while, is to go to my Substack.
Yes.
You don't have to read the stuff on my Substack if you don't want, but the announcements, but they stay, what did I say, they're 3 weeks before they go behind a paywall, I think. But I'll mention them every week anyway. Once everything's set in there, so the Calendly bit, that's done. And I don't know whether to go, I'm trying to make a decision at the moment, whether to go with Holistico, which is sort of a natural wellness site who manages all of that stuff for me, or whether to carry on with just my own stuff. And I'm changing the name of my business as well, so that's all of that's going on. So the best place to go is my Substack, which is dead straightforward, tonyharmer.substack.com. If you want to read my amusing nonsense, you can read my amusing nonsense.
There is some wonderful stuff on there. I highly recommend reading it.
It's designed to make you laugh most of the time. But yeah, that's the best place to go. And that will tell you where you can, at the very bottom, it will tell you where to get where the current link is.
Yeah.
Until it's set.
Until it's set,
yeah.
This is such an exciting time for you.
It is exciting.
How has it been transitioning more into, because I know this has always been so important to you, but actually now having this as like a primary focus, how are you feeling about the shift?
Really good. I'm back where I started in so many ways, with the wisdom I didn't have back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I feel really good about the way things are, and I'm helping people, which I really think is what does it for me. It didn't matter if I was helping people to get a deal across the line when I was doing the stuff there, if I was helping people to learn something new, yeah, when I was doing that. Well, I still am doing that, but it's not going away. It's just taking a little bit of a back seat.
Yeah.
So the Design Ninja channel will still be there, and that will still get stuff on it all the time, but it won't just be with one vendor. Yeah, because I use a completely different painting software. I use a thing called Rebel from Escape Motions. A lot of people come across Escape Motions by Flame Painter because it's used in effects, because you get those things. But they make this fantastic. Peter, the guy who did it, we know each other, and he's actually an architect. He's in Slovakia. Sorry, Peter. He's in Slovakia. He saw a gap in painting software.
Yeah.
And the media emulation in it is insane. And so I'm going to do more of that alongside the Adobe stuff and some of the other applications I use, like some of the Apple tools I use.
I've never truly got into. So I know there's lots of digital emulators for different, working with mediums and whatnot, and it looks incredible. I think there is something tactile that always draws me back to traditional methods of. Yeah. And I think honestly, if there was something that could be done, I don't even know if it exists. You might be like, actually, Tigz, this is a thing, but the surface friction between the tool and the screen is normally what? Tractability. It's the thing that's missing, and I think that might be, again, the neurodivergent. I need that tactile something, but I mean, it sounds incredible. Maybe I need to lean into it a bit more.
I mean, the screen that I use for digital stuff is SenseLabs PD 24, and that has a tractable surface on it by default. Laura has just started learning drawing last December. Unbelievable how far she's come on, like crazy. But she's neurodivergent, and she's very much like you. She's got a focus on something, she will just keep plugging away at it.
Yep.
But she's discovered Paperlike now. So, and Paperlike does that for you on an iPad and gives you that thing. Although there is one of the iPads. Although you're paying like top dollar for it, it's the absolute top of the line.
Is this the iPad Pro?
iPad Pro.
I've lost track of
Super
iPads. Super
doohickey. I know. Yeah.
The one with all the fancy features and buttons. Yeah.
I was kind of out when things were being presented in the White House. I thought, no, I'm still keeping with the tools, but I'm going to sweat them now for a long time. And also they're not as relevant to me now in so many ways as they were, even in that space of time. Yeah, having 24 mil tubes of Holbein gouache is much more important to me than doing that. Having different viscosities of acrylics for stuff, that's more important to me.
The mediums that I'm leaning more to these days is ink. Love ink, and actually this really sparkly watercolor pattern.
Sarah Coleman, you want to go to Sarah? Did you ever meet Sarah Coleman?
I don't think I did.
Inky Mole.
Oh, that name rings a bell.
Inky Mole, yeah. Oh, she's amazing. We did have that's another story, maybe in a minute. But she has a shop, and she has some fantastic ink in there, and some sparklies in there, and some color changing things in there as well.
Exactly where my dopamine heart lies. Just give me ink, give me textured paper, and a load of different brushes. And shodo, actually, Japanese calligraphy. That's really cool.
You'd love her store because she's got all of that. So she's got heavily Japan influenced. She's got a side gig for her is Inky Mole's Motors.
Okay.
And she's a fan of these really niche retro Japanese cars.
Oh, well,
I can't remember what they're called. I'm sorry, Sarah, I don't know what I can't remember what they're called. But anyway, she's got some and she loves them. So she's very Japan influenced. But no, she has all of these different inks, and the the like rigger pens I use for ink, they're Japanese, and I buy those from Sarah's store. Yeah.
I know where all my money is going in about half an hour from this episode.
She's so good. Just very quickly, so I used to draw back in the day, before digital took over my life. I used to draw cards for pretty much everybody. This year, I drew cards for quite a few people. I always draw one for like Laura and whatever else, but I did one for a few friends this year, but I did one for Sarah, because Sarah did. I called Sarah on Krampusnacht and said, "It's Krampusnacht, happy Krampusnacht."
I think you called me that day as well.
Yeah.
Looks like, what?
Spread the joy. Anyway, she then thought, "Oh, I didn't know it was Krampusnacht," and she loves Krampus, so she drew a Krampus in this tobacco-infused ink, which smells weirdly like cigarettes. I'm not sure I could deal with that ink, but but anyway, she did this Krampus, and I thought, I'm going to make Sarah, and she that was her Christmas card for this year, and on the back it says this card would not have existed without Tony on the, which was kind of cute. It was very cute, and anyway, I thought, I'm going to draw Sarah a Krampus and send it to her for Christmas. So I drew this Krampus, and it was coloured, and it was inked, and it was all sorts. And I did a 3D tongue poking out of the mouth. And the detail that on the back of the tongue, I'd actually coloured that in as well. So it wasn't just paper, it was just sat there. And I knew she'd appreciate that detail. And when she got it, she was thrilled to bits with it, which was lovely. She then sent me a reel with Michael Sheen and David Tennant. Because they're friends, they have a little podcast together, and they were having an art exchange, because she sent me this video with a note that just said on WhatsApp, with a note that just said sometimes friendships can be tested by whatever, because of my Krampus. And it's the one where David Tennant has basically drawn a pineapple on a sheet of paper, like a pineapple caricature, and Michael Sheen brings up this massive canvas with his seascape on it.
Yes.
And that was what she was just alluding to, the fact that she did this like tobacco. I loved her Krampus, incidentally, but mine had a lot of detail work in it, but I was pouring some love into it, for it's
I think when someone sends you art, handmade something, it just means the world. The fact that they took time to do it, and I think this comes back round.
I would have done one for everyone if I could have done.
Yeah.
But
it just kind of brings us full circle in. You can change someone's entire perspective of the world through creativity, whether that's helping them to calm and center themselves, or literally change the trajectory of life.
And you don't have to wait for them to be in some sort of drama to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can just phone them and say, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yeah.
Or I send Laura at midday usually. I send her, around about that sort of time. This is your lunchtime reminder that I love you.
Oh, cute.
It doesn't hurt.
No.
And it's the truth.
Never hurts to hear it, does it?
But exactly. And that, and smile at people more. Yeah. Because you never know. You might. This is a thing these days, because we're becoming sort of headphones insular, right? We try and avoid looking at people in the street. Don't. Because they're just like you. Yeah. A small, if you're doing like a Joker-style grin,
probably
too
not.
much,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Back it down a little bit. But a small smile, just to acknowledge their presence on the earth, does no harm whatsoever. I mean, if they turn around, what are you smiling at? That's on them, not on you, right? But otherwise, and say hello to people as you walk through doors. If you've got like security people and whatever else, it doesn't hurt you to say hello. If it's somewhere you go regularly, find out what their name is. Say, I've always done that. That's the one word to each of us that is the most important word in your vocabulary, because it's the first one you learn before you even know what words are.
Yeah.
Right? You don't know if that one moment that you give to somebody like that via smile or hello might be the thing that actually turns the world round for them on that day, because you never know what's going on.
Well, I very much hope that after listening to this episode, we're going to have started a whole season of smiling and sending your friends art in the post, and surprise inbox joy. Hopefully we'll be starting a little mini revolution.
I hope so too.
If people are inspired by you and they want more, and they want to look up these, we've already talked about the 20-minute sessions, but if they just want to spend more time in your world, where can they find you?
Go to the Substack at the moment, but there are 2 YouTube channels that are set up. They just haven't got anything on at the moment.
We can put those in the show notes.
But Messy Ideas Art, and there's also one coming along for kids, but I want Laura to present that more than me, because kids love her, you know, because she's adorable, right? You know, so amazing. I want her to do that.
Well, thank you so much. I feel like you and I could talk for a season's worth of episodes, and I'm sure we'll have you on for something else in the future as well.
That would be lovely. Thank you.
It's been such a privilege hearing about your creativity and sharing that, and I know there will be people out there that will be so inspired.
I hope so.
So hopefully we'll have you on again, but in the meantime, thank you.
Thank you, lovey.
And for anyone who has been watching at home or listening, thank you so much. If any of this has resonated, then please feel free to follow, subscribe, do all the things that let us know that you're enjoying this content. And perhaps if there's someone that you know that would really appreciate this episode and needs a little bit of calm and creativity in their life, send it their way.
Yeah.
And finally, just one last reminder, you're not broken, you're just finding your user manual.